Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Well, certainly deaths are coming down. Hospitalizations are coming down. We're seeing hospitalizations a bit more skewed to younger people than it were several months ago. But the number that is disturbing is the number of cases each day. It's plateaued at a disturbingly high level. The last count yesterday was 63,000 cases in a single day. When you're at that level, there is the risk of getting a surge back up.
Yeah, Dr. Fauci right there. Is there a risk? There's a risk in everything. You know that, and I know that. He even said, I don't know what's going on in Texas. Can't figure it out. Don't know what it is. Part of what it is the fact that some of these states, Arizona being one, Florida, the more open states throughout this entire thing, had a lot of people that were already exposed to the virus, whichever virus that's out there, at the time. And because of that, well, there's a certain amount of immunity that's been built up within the populace there. Other states that are coming out that weren't hit as hard are now having to open up because their governors are essentially saying, like, I have no choice. I can't keep us locked down forever. And my constituents are telling me I have to open up. The goal is to get to herd immunity. We've talked about it. You're not going to get there through vaccination alone. That'll take forever. Now, eventually you can get there. But if your whole goal is to get there within a period of time where we have still a society and an actual economy worth being in, it's going to be tough. It is. You're going to have to participate. And, and we've talked about it. When you emerge from your whatever it is, right? Your rumination, your hibernation over the last year, even with vaccinations, you're still going to see an increase. Hospitalizations, a few places, but not many. Deaths still going down, which at the end of the day is what it's really all about. But getting to whatever magical number that is, I don't know what that number is. I could not tell you what the number is as far as getting to a point where we reach, quote unquote, herd immunity.
This is a very elusive number, this herd immunity. It varies on the ability and the efficiency of transmission from person to person, and it varies with the efficacy of the vaccine. It's somewhere between 70 and 85% of the population where you have a combination of people who are vaccinated and people who've recovered. You don't need necessarily to get to this mystical number. The more and more people you get vaccinated, the closer and closer you get to control.
And that's what it's all about, control. Eventually we'll get there. We're getting closer. Some states are going to get there much, 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 much faster. Other states, it is going to take a while. And now you come to find out that the variant of the South African coronavirus, apparently, Pfizer doesn't do great against it in the real world thing that they've looked at. This is the 400 people tested positive for COVID-19 after receiving at least one dose of the vaccine, compared with the same number of people who were infected and unvaccinated. This is just a small sample, but there's a worry there that one of these variants are going to do extremely well in eluding. The whole thing about a virus is it wants to live. So it's finding a host, and in doing so, it's trying to evade all of the things that are out there that would try to kill it. And sometimes, and a majority of times, your immune system is going to do the job. Then you add in this, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, in some cases AstraZeneca, you're going to find that it speeds up the process of defeating it. But as it goes from one point to another, sometimes it becomes more elusive. And the fear is one of these things is going to be essentially, these vaccines can be rendered useless against one of these variants, which would cause us to potentially have another issue as far as going back inside. And that's the fear that so many people have. It's the fear of why people are looking around going, okay, do I go back to work? Do I not go back to work? Do we open up the place? Do we not open up the place? Maybe, maybe not. So, we're just not there. And the numbers are climbing in certain places, not every place.
This morning, health officials fear a fourth coronavirus wave is taking hold. On top of rising cases over the past 2 weeks, hospitalizations climbing 12%, with states like Michigan hit even harder.
Cases within our hospitals has doubled over the last 2 weeks.
Many hospitals there filling up, now reverting to mid-pandemic restrictions. State officials asking people to stop gathering indoors.
Stop gathering indoors. Don't eat indoors, Fauci.
Eating and drinking indoors in restaurants and bars, is that okay now?
No, it's still not okay for the simple reason that the level of infection, the dynamics of infection in the community are still really disturbingly high. If you are vaccinated, please remember that you still have to be careful and not get involved in crowded situations, particularly indoors where people are not wearing masks.
Look, for me, I don't do any of that stuff. I mean, I hang out with the same 7 or 8 people. It's kind of the way it's been. I'm normally that way. For some people, it's tougher. A younger generation, that's falling on deaf ears. Again, they think they're invincible. Totally understandable. We all did. And so much of what you're seeing right now is the growth of young kids out there having fun who've been sequestered, if you will, for the last year and are ready to let off steam, and they're doing so. They're doing so. And you're going to find some spread amongst them. But as this goes, I think we're going to have a spike in some places, but it will eventually slow down. And as more and more people receive the vaccine, and the worry now is that some people don't want it. The South, they don't seem to be taking it as much. Okay. Heavily Republican. Is that part of the reason? It's possible. Some places they're getting as much as they can and taking it. Some places that we're also producing a lot more. And as that happens, we're going to have a plethora of it. Like Bill Maher said, I think by the middle of the year, we're going to be swimming in it. And that is definitely a possibility. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Overnight, another shooting. Police officer, African-American man. Just a crazy night after the shooting in Minneapolis. Now, remember, what do we have going on right now? We have the Derek Chauvin case. It's not too far away from them. Essentially, the prosecutors resting in their side of the case, and I wouldn't be surprised here in the next several days they eventually turn it over to the jury. Now you have this.
The incident beginning just before 2 p.m. on Sunday when officers pulled a car over for a traffic violation. According to the Brooklyn Center Police Department, the driver, who had an outstanding warrant, tried to get back in the vehicle while officers were making an arrest. An officer then shot the driver. Police say paramedics attempted life-saving measures, but the driver was pronounced dead at the scene.
Yeah, it's everywhere, as usual. It's an incident that is going to be definitely in the nation's spotlight, and the reason is simple. Same city, Derek Chauvin, George Floyd, middle of the case going on right now. Black man, police officers. This is something that is going to be highlighted. Is this another incident of abuse by police officers? They act too quick. Were they worried about something? And at the same time, like everything else, the judgments have already happened. I don't lay judgment until I know the facts. I don't know the facts. Right? I don't know the facts. I do know that what took place overnight was ridiculous, and I think people need to, once again, take a deep breath before you start burning things and looting things. Nobody wants that. Protest is one thing. Unrest and looting is another. Because somebody got shot doesn't mean you get to go burn somebody's store down because you're angry. That's stupid. That is absolutely stupid. While this was going on, he was on a call with his mom.
In an area about 5 miles north of Minneapolis, demonstrators clashed with police after an officer-involved shooting left 20-year-old Dante Wright dead. His mother, Katie Wright, said she was on a call with her son when she heard officers order him to hang up the phone.
Heard the phone get either put on the dashboard or dropped, and I heard scuffling, and I heard the police officer say, "Dante, don't run," and then the other officer said, "Put the phone down," and hung it up.
An investigation into the incident is ongoing.
Yeah. So Once again, already tensions high, and I will tell you this, whatever happens here in the next week or so, expect more unrest, and you couple what's going on with Derek Chauvin and now this, it is if I'm a business owner right now, I'm thinking to myself, all right, what do I do to protect myself in the event, because it doesn't matter. At this point in time, I don't think it really matters what the verdict's going to be. If you ask me what I think the verdict's going to be, it's probably going to be second or third degree murder with Derek Chauvin. But I still think the protest, and now you throw this in, it's a powder keg, and the fuse has already been lit. And now they said, hey, let's light another powder keg, and we'll get a fuse over here as well. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Hope you had a good weekend. I did. Enjoyable weekend. Watched the golf, and man, what a day.
That hurts a little bit, but it's not going to hurt for long. Hideki Matsuyama walks around and taps it in. It's a bogey, and he's going to win Masters.
I watched that, and it was great for him, for the nation of Japan. First Japanese man to win the Masters, the biggest probably of all the tournaments. And it was fun to watch because there was fans there, and I love that. And it was great. There was no politics. Politics was put aside. They played the game. It was beautiful out there, and the politics wasn't there. And I love that. I love the fact. And I know a lot of people want to use their platform for whatever it is that they want to do, right? Like, you know, whether they're increasing their brand or they're making a statement. I get that. I got zero problems with that. But at the same time, sometimes it's just about the game. And this guy won, and we're going to touch on a bit about him. He's just an interesting guy, a quiet guy. And now what this means for the entire country, who, by the way, woke up early Monday morning and watched this happen. The entire nation essentially stood still to watch this happen. And he'll probably be the torchbearer or lighting the cauldron of the Tokyo Games because of this. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. Tweet us, text the program. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, fastest growing over 50 organization in the country. Out there fighting on your behalf for little things, you know, like making sure your First and Second Amendment are there and protected, common sense immigration reform, things of that nature. On top of that, they've got great benefits, retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, and everything in between. It can help you with just a varied things that you might have issues with, whether or not you should start taking Social Security, Medicare. How do you sign up? What's the best way to do it? They can walk you through all those steps. Join today. It's about $16 a year, pennies a day. amac.us/Chad, amac.us/Chad, amac.us/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
You stink like fear and white male privilege to me.
I do often out myself verbally as a gender. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm proud to be a gender.
Are you stupid? What? Are you kidding me? Not a great way to use your white privilege.
Some people get it, some people don't.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Now further hindering the fight, a sharp decline in the supply of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, expected to drop 85% this week, forcing vaccine sites from California to Virginia to tap the brakes.
We don't have a clear answer from the federal government about why the fluctuation, why the drop-off.
While it's not an insurmountable hit, every speed bump gives more time for virus variants to further spread.
While we may not have as great a surge as we saw in the fall, we do have concerns about unnecessary hospitalizations and deaths as we're heading towards this light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, Johnson, well, I think part of the reason why is because that whole thing that took place in Maryland with the manufacturing of it, right? Like they blew that thing up. Was it 15 million dosages were destroyed because it was like a mix and match. See, that's probably one of the reasons why. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's part of it. There's going to be hiccups, too. We talked about what took place, right? So you had this, you go and look at the, what took place with the Ever Given, right? Right there in the canal that was completely shut everything down. And, oh, my goodness, like the Suez Canal, there was going to be a domino effect for a lot of these things. It wasn't so much that ship, right? That thing could have had little, furry dolls that you put inside those machines with the claw. It didn't matter because all of the ships outside of there had stuff that potentially could have been a part of this. And that's the domino effect that we worry about when some of this stuff happens. It's going to be okay. Johnson & Johnson's also had some other issues, having to pause in certain places for whatever reason. They're having just issues like, Denver last week. There was a couple other places where people got sick.
We've paused only to just better prepare, just make sure we could screen people who have a history of fainting and make sure that they're comfortable during the process. We have confidence in all 3 vaccines, and we hope more and more people get them.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that people are, have phobias. And are you really sick? And then what happens is, right, you go in a place where 1 or 2 people start to have an adverse effect on themselves that may be real. But then you start to see what? People start to panic. In their mind, it becomes something of a, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like all the people out there who keep hearing that the second shot is going to destroy you. The second shot is going to destroy you. Producer Anthony's not feeling great today. He got his second shot yesterday. He said he felt fine till late last night, that his body started to hurt, and he was a bit wiped out, but he'll be fine. But everybody's like, well, the second one. Like when I went in to get my shot of Moderna, they looked at me and they said, the second one's going to be awful. I'm like, no, I don't know that. Because it may not. Because I've talked to several people like, yeah, my arm was a little bit sore, but I'm fine. Never had a problem with it. So it's some of that self-fulfilling. We're like talking our way into feeling bad. And there's other people out there where they don't feel bad, and then they think, well, it must not have worked. You're like, oh, you can't win for lose. And you can't lose for win. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So done with this world. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of this selfish, idiotic behavior. I have 1, 2, I have 3 inhalers. 3! And you have the nerve to tell me that you have a doctor's note not to wear this? If any doctor gave you that, it's because you're that weak. You can't wear a piece of cloth. You're a selfish bitch.
She's sweet. She's making somebody very happy. So we have anti-maskers, and now we have somebody who is, you must mask. Here's the other thing when people, and this is, so just as people are anti-mask, and I think most of us are anti-mask if we're honest with ourselves. We wear it because people, like for me, you've asked me to wear it here at the station or your business, whatever it is. I'm going to wear it. I'm not going to cause any trouble. I got better things to do, right? And, I'm in my studio most of the day. I've got my little side of the building. I practice my putting. I'll go to the golf course and hit some golf balls a little bit later. But when I'm in commingling with other coworkers, I wear masks because you guys asked me to, just like I would in a store. Totally fine with that. I got zero problems with that. I would like to not wear a mask, as would most people, but it's understandable. And sometimes people who want to make a big deal about the mask and your freedoms and blah, 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 I just sit there and I scratch my head and I'm like, oh my God. But on the other side, you have the pro-maskers who, well, they hope that the people who don't wear masks, they hope bad things happen to them.
I hope you both catch COVID. I hope you both understand how serious this is. My 4-year-old needs me. My disabled husband who spined in 2016 needs me. I'm the only one doing anything at my house because they need me. And you're selfish trying to take me away from them.
Settle down. You hope they both catch it. That's nice. It's the emotion right there. But it's also the fear factor, right? Like this fear factor that we've put into people that if you're not wearing a mask, somehow you're evil and bad. Right? And that your whole goal is to get everybody else sick. And the people that are super pro-mask, right? That would just, you need to wear not 1 but 2. Not 2 but 5. Not 5 but 10. I mean, you see, some of those people, well, you'll find out once you get it and you die. Like, settle down. Settle down. Settle down. You don't know their story. Maybe, right? Maybe they've got both vaccinations. The state that they're living in, or the cities that they're living in, or the places they say, hey, you don't have to wear a mask here. Maybe that's it. And they choose to exercise that right. Are there some people out there who go out there and they will fight this thing tooth and nail? Yes. But the end of all of this, we're going to look back and go, wow, we were really not nice to each other. Just want to point that out. We weren't great to each other. Just want to point that out. Maybe we could have done a better job understanding each other. We're not there yet, though. We're not. And there's going to be people that are going to wear masks for a foreseeable future. I don't even want to say, like other parts of the world, culturally, it's just something you do. Normally, when you used to see somebody who had a mask, right, a year and a half ago, who was it? Usually somebody who was sick, had a compromised immune system. Somebody had, maybe, maybe they had cancer, maybe they had HIV, maybe they were going through chemo and they just come out and they were going to a place where there's going to be a lot of people. They were taking extra precaution. That's who you saw. In other parts of the world, it's kind of normal. Some of it is because they have really bad air quality. Some of it's because there is the potential to have a virus that spreads because they live so close together. But I think you're going to see a lot of this. A lot of it. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Last night, another shooting in Minneapolis of a black man by officers. Once again, what do you get? You get fighting. You get protesting. You get the usual insanity.
Tensions very quickly rising. Before nightfall, protesters carrying Black Lives Matter signs clashing with police. Protesters also seen jumping on cars, even using cinder blocks to smash windows on a police vehicle. The Minnesota National Guard deployed, police deploying tear gas to clear the crowds.
Yep. He was pulled over. Dante Smith, right? And his mother and him were on the phone. His mom said the only thing he did was he had air fresheners in the car, and they told him to get out of the car. Maybe to hide the smell of marijuana. Maybe that's what she's trying to infer. I don't know. I mean, what kind of air fresheners are that dangerous? And then they told him not to run. They're saying, the police, he had a warrant. He tried to jump in the vehicle and speed off, putting people at risk. The vehicle traveled several blocks, striking another vehicle. So this wasn't one of those things where it's like they walked up to him and shot him. And this is why I tell everybody, before you judge that the cops didn't do anything wrong, or before you judge that this guy's automatically a criminal, everybody take a step back and you got to let things go. We don't do that. That's not what we're about. That's what I'm about. Other people, they can go do it. They could jump and say, this is what it is. Because I already have it going on already on my Twitter and my Instagram, and people are DMing me, oh man, did you see this? This guy's a bad dude, and this is what's going to happen. This guy, these cops are evil and bad. Settle down. But one thing's for sure, you're going to have chaos and craziness because you've got what going on? You've got the George Floyd trial going on, same county, Hennepin County. And with all of that going on, The trial is in full swing, heading towards its conclusion. The city's already on edge, and now you have this, and lo and behold, you get what? You get unrest and looting.
Protests and looting in Brooklyn Center outside Minneapolis followed the shooting death of 20-year-old Dante Wright, who called his mother Katie to say he was being pulled over.
And I said, well, why did you get pulled over? He said they pulled him over because he had air fresheners hanging from the rearview mirror.
Police said Wright was found to have an outstanding warrant, but when they tried to take him into custody, he got back into his car.
One officer had fired a weapon, striking the driver. The vehicle continued and eventually crashed.
A woman in the car was injured. It's believed police body cameras were activated during the traffic stop.
And there's where that will go. But people have already made up their mind because we live in a world of, you know what, I don't even care what it's about. I'm already going to make my judgment based on this. And they're bad and evil, and it is white supremacy, or this guy's bad and evil, and it's another young black male who refused to listen to the police officers. I don't get the whole air freshener thing. It's new to me. That's new to me. But in a nation, but also in a city that is currently feeling like it could explode, this is another piece of a puzzle to that powder keg. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Want to hear from all of you. The border, remember the border thing? You guys remember that thing with the border, right? And then Joe Biden's like, hey, Kamala Harris is going to totally, she's the VP, she's going to handle all of this. And we got this thing on, this thing is perfect. Like, it's nothing, like, it can't get better. You were like, can it get better? Oh, it's perfect. It's awesome.
The fact is that we're on a good path at the border under leadership of President Biden. It's about restructuring how we do what is happening there, because we were in a very bad situation under the Trump administration. We're on a good path at the border.
I don't know what path she's talking about. I'm still trying to figure out what path that she's talking about that we're under that was so good with him. And I'll be real. Trump did some stuff that I wasn't a fan of. But at the end of the day, I think he's done some stuff here that is pretty good. You know, with the keeping people on the other side. With, hey, you want to come here and apply for asylum? Well, here's the thing. You've traveled from a place that you were feeling that you had to leave, and you've gotten to Mexico. And because you've landed in Mexico, you have to apply for asylum there. You can't come here. That, to me, was good. They got rid of that. Now they're at the point where they're just letting some people go. They're not even figuring out, hey, are you going to be here in 9 months or a year when we call you to come? Nah, don't even worry about it. Don't give us your name. Don't give us your address. Don't give us anything. Just you do you, and you head out. That's not very good. That is not a win. We are not on a good path. It is ugly and nasty. You have people that are being trafficked. You have a horrible situation. Last week, they're talking about maybe we just send payments directly to people in the triangle, which is, you got El Salvador, Guatemala, and they're looking not so much to Mexico, right, but Honduras, and see if that can stem the tide. That's where they are at this moment in time. They're trying to figure stuff out. Don't tell me, Nancy Pelosi, right, that it's a great place. This is great. It's never been better. 170,000 last month apprehended. Not since March 2001 have we had that kind of flow, if you will. Don't tell me it's great. It's not. He did leave in something, which a lot of people are questioning him when it comes to the border, which essentially allows them to send people back immediately based on the fact that there is a virus that's out there. And a lot of people want him to get rid of that. I think it's like Title 42, or if I'm correct, not to be confused with Level 42. And so essentially, because of the virus and the potential spread, that people trying to come here could be turned away if they so choose. And what we're finding out, they're not so choosing to do any of it.
As we're here at the McAllen facility, you just saw a large number of kids just come running across the border. Here they are right here, just came into the country illegally, ran across, just got apprehended by Border Patrol agents. And it's going on all around us. We've been seeing this. We've only been here less than an hour, and we've already seen multiple encounters of people coming across. And now they're over getting processed, probably over 100 people right here just in the last hour.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse. Steve Scalise right there. That's what is going on. Right? That's what is going on. And outside of, I don't even know where Kamala Harris, because I know she was put in charge to do this. But as invisible as the border is, she's been pretty much invisible on this as well. It is, as Steve Scalise puts it, out of control. And we need to figure out something to do to stem the tide. What that is, I don't know, because you have two parties that are hell-bent on doing virtually nothing because the opportunity to raise money and continue to keep this thing as a problem without a solution is too huge to pass up. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, tweet at us, text the program. All right, so check it out. My Pillow sent me slippers. I know what, slippers? Yeah, they call my slippers. A couple of years they said it took to develop. So they sent them to me. I thought, oh, you know what? I'll see how comfortable they are. And I play a lot of sports, and I beat my feet up, and I like having something comfortable. These things are amazing, right? All day you can wear them, indoor, outdoor, thick, beautiful suede, cozy, like faux fur inside, and moccasin style. Slip them on. Let's go. 60-day money-back guarantee, 1 year limited warranty, 3-tier cushioning system. It's got the fill, My Pillow. It's got the comfort memory foam, My Pillow, and the patented impact gel. Limited time, Mike is offering 40% off his new My Slippers. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener square, enter promo code Benson, or call 800-983-4975. While you're there, take advantage of all the super deep discounts on the Dream Sheets, the My Pillow mattress topper, and the towel set, and you can save 40% on the My Slippers with promo code Benson. 800-983-4975, or visit MyPillow.com. Use that promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
I usually don't get into politics. As an ordinary suburban housewife, I feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
You are a blabbermouth! Come on, man!
Guys, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum?
Chad Benson.
Families often do come together in a crisis, so a real hope that Harry and William in particular will be able to find some common ground through this family crisis, and perhaps with Charles as well. Of course, the Duchess of Sussex isn't coming over. A lot of tension with her as well, but I think, it would be a first stepping stone, wouldn't it, if you could see William and Harry getting along at this event.
Yeah, Prince Philip. It's funny, over the weekend, it didn't take but 2 moments for him to be gone when people were like, all right, let's talk about his horrific past, shall we? Let's talk about the awful things that he has done. Let's talk about the things that he said. Because that's what you need to do. That's what we do now. So let's talk about that within moments. Refinery 29. It's an outlet. Prince Philip has died, and it's important to be honest about his many offensive comments. He died at 99. Passed away peacefully. He's been accused of racist treatment of Meghan Markle. I'm not buying that, right? I'm just not. I mean, it's more and more people are coming out saying, yeah, we're really not buying this. And by the way, the Queen never once said, give us your phones and you can't act anymore. So I don't know who to believe, but I'm not quite sure. Here's one, 2001. 13-year-old Andy Adams, who inspired to become an astronaut. Prince Philip said, lose weight. It's not very nice. It's being honest, right? Hey, dude, I know you want to be an astronaut, but you got to be a little thinner for that, right? They're not taking up big kids. They're just not. You're so mean. I did say it. He did. I don't know how that was racist. And allegedly, he told a 14-year-old Bangladeshi youth that he looked like he was on drugs. Asking who else there is on drugs. Oh, my God. Phillips once accused of comparing Ethiopian art to the kind of things my daughter would bring home from school. Oh, my Lord. I don't, that's what you've got right there, kids. I'm sorry. I'm just not buying it. That's where we go, though, nowadays. Just destroy. Destroy! He's a bad guy. Get over it. I'll tell you what, he did not look good at the end. And they showed pictures of him. I thought, ooh, it's the kind of thing when you watch like some of those ghost movies, and they're like, this is the guy that's living in the corner. You're like, oh God, yeah, he did not, especially after his accident, looked a little beat up. We'll see if Harry comes home. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Weekend box office ruled again by the biggies. Godzilla and King Kong crushed it and really doing extremely well. So that's good. Another $30 million over the weekend. Feels like we're getting back to normal. Even now, movie companies saying, well, we might hold off on some of these movies and just release them in the theater. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
In Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, demonstrators clashed with officers, protesters surrounding police headquarters.
By the way, I'm just letting you know, this is not because of Derek Chauvin, George Floyd. Just letting you guys know. Protesters, Minneapolis, police headquarters, protesters surrounding, not because of George Floyd, not because of the Derek Chauvin trial.
Officers firing flashbangs to disperse the crowd. The violence erupted Sunday where police had shot and killed a man during a traffic stop hours earlier. Police say officers tried to arrest a driver on an outstanding warrant when the man tried to get back into his vehicle. That's when police say an officer shot him. They say the car kept driving for several blocks, eventually crashing.
Yeah. He's been identified. Deontay Wright. His mother was on a call with him, said he was pulled over because he had an air freshener in the car. Not quite sure what exactly that has to do with it. Like, do you suspect that maybe he's doing weed? That's why he's got an air freshener. I don't know what that's all about. Again, we're going to sit here and we're going to try to figure out all of this, but most people have already made up their minds. Now, this comes in the middle of an already tense situation. As less than a year ago, Derek Chauvin, police officer, Minneapolis, knelt on George Floyd's neck or shoulder blade or whatever. That's what the battle is right now in court. And it resulted in the death of George Floyd. Subsequently, riots, Black Lives Matter movement has picked up. It became a global story. George Floyd's name became a name that people across the world knew. More so than any other situation, I think, like it ever. People didn't know who Rodney King was. They didn't. You've seen the other issues that the police and people of color and the minority community have had, and where there has been protests and unrest and rioting, and it became a story nationally. Maybe the unrest became a story for some outlets, but George Floyd became somewhat of a story, and for people, a symbol. That trial is going on. The city's already on edge. And last night, again, looting, protest. It's not good. It's not. We don't know what was going on. outside of the fact that they pulled him over. He had a warrant. Tried to get his car, take off. Officer shot. It went for several blocks, eventually crashed. There was either one or two women in the car. It was not a good situation. Never is in any kind of situation like this. The cops will be deemed by some as overreaching and bad and racist. On the other side of it, some people are going to look at this and say, well, you know what? Should have just listened to the cops. None of this stuff would have happened. Body cam footage, apparently. What I do know is I don't know anything. I know some of the stuff I've read, some of the stuff I've seen, but I don't know anything outside of that. Not to make a judgment. Could it all be something where, yeah, the cops are right in doing that? Possibly. Could it all be something where, once again, police overreacted? It's possible. It is possible. We don't know. But when you're getting close to closing and resting a case that has the world watching in the same county, in the same area, with everybody watching, and a place right now in Minneapolis where, so my other show that I do, our new producer, she's from Minneapolis. She was there a couple weeks ago. Says, people are on edge. Business owners are on edge. Everybody's just feeling a little, there's just the anxiousness of what's going on. You can feel it underneath everything. And you couple that with the fact that the coronavirus is still out there, all of these things, it has the potential to really explode. And you hope it doesn't, but I don't know. I don't. Like the George Zimmerman case, I thought that was going to cause some unrest, and nothing really compared to what we saw over the summer. And the potential of this thing with George Floyd and the what if. And if you are the city, if you are a police officer in the city, if you are a business owner in the city, a resident in the city, right? County members, mayors, city council, all of those things, you're bracing for anything, and that includes the worst. On Friday, Dr. Baker, who was the medical examiner that first did the autopsy on Floyd. Remember what he said in his autopsy. I believed he died essentially of a heart attack.
My opinion remains unchanged. It's what I put on the death certificate last June. That's cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement, subdual restraint, and neck compression. That was my top line then. It would stay my top line now.
So, complicating with the neck compressions, law enforcement. That's his opinion. People freaked out about that, saying essentially it was a domino effect. And this is what the defense has been hoping for. And by the way, the prosecution has brought some people up, and they have not fared very well either. I still think right now, if you ask me what he's going to be convicted of, it's second or third degree murder at this point. But then they asked Dr. Baker about the classification of his death.
In terms of manner of death, you found then, and do you stand by today, that the manner of death for Mr. Floyd was, as you would call it, homicide?
Yes, I would still classify it as a homicide today.
There you go. So that trial's still going on while they have unrest. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. With all of that being said, you've got this thing called the coronavirus that is still out there, and in some places it's surging.
Well, certainly deaths are coming down. Hospitalizations are coming down. We're seeing hospitalizations a bit more skewed to younger people than it were several months ago. But the number that is disturbing is the number of cases each day. It's plateaued at a disturbingly high level. The last count yesterday was 63,000 cases in a single day. When you're at that level, there is the risk of getting a surge back up.
Yeah. There is always a risk of a surge jumping back up because we don't know exactly where this thing's going with the variant. But we can't live our lives based on the potential of something around the corner being evil and bad. That's just not something we could do because we would just never move forward. We would just kind of just putter along, one step forward, half a step back, half a step forward, quarter of a step. I mean, that's what we would be doing. We've got to be able to make some choices, and the choices that are best for the communities and the people at large. And, they said that there's some 4 million people right now that are looking for jobs because they're unemployed. They're not people who are waiting for their businesses to reopen where they can go back, but they're terrified because they think the coronavirus is going to kill them. And based on everything, it's totally understandable. It is. It's totally understandable. I understand that. And some of those people may have compromised immune systems. All of those things could be real. And some of it may be just psychological. They could be in great health, and the chances of them even catching this and dying from it would be slim to none. But the herd immunity thing, remember the number originally? 70% was like the number. Remember that? Like if we can get to people like 70%, we'd be good.
This is a very elusive number, this herd immunity. It varies on the ability and the efficiency of transmission from person to person, and it varies with the efficacy of the vaccine. It's somewhere between 70 and 85% of the population where you have a combination of people who are vaccinated and people who've recovered. You don't need necessarily to get to this mystical number. The more and more people you get vaccinated, the closer and closer you get to control.
And that's the first time Fauci has essentially put inside of the 70% to 85% people that have recovered from this. That's the first time he's done that. Because normally it's we got to get at least 70+% of people vaccinated. But at least he's counting it towards it. And that is why some states are doing better than other states. Some states had a huge spread when it came to this because they weren't as locked down. People were still going out and doing things. They had situations where, here in Arizona, we were the worst 3 separate times in the world per capita. Florida was the worst for a while. Texas was bad. All that being said, the spread was so big that there was already building up of a natural herd immunity because so many people had either been exposed and or caught it and survived it. Then you couple that with vaccinations, you're going to get there faster. Sweden, when they first started, said this: we're all going to get to the same place. We're all going to get to the same place. We're all going to be in a situation where we're going to have to learn to live with this thing, through this thing, and around this thing. But no matter how hard you try, we're going to end up in the same place where people are going to get sick. Then you're going to have vaccinations. There will have been a decent amount of spread, and then you'll achieve herd immunity. Trying to do it strictly with vaccinations will take a very, very long time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the show. Love hearing from you, each and every one of you. I'm going to play something for you guys to make you laugh. This is a La Russell. It's a 70-person town in Missouri. They had local elections. Listen to this.
What a difference an election makes. The last time voters cast ballots in southwest Missouri was to elect a president, and they did so in huge numbers. But not yesterday. In fact, in one town in Jasper County, La Russell, not a single person exercised their right to vote, and that includes both candidates on the ballot for city council. At first, County Clerk Charlie Davis thought it was a mistake or a problem at the precinct.
No. Apathy. Whatever. You could have went and voted for yourself. You'd have won 1-0. You couldn't even do that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Raycon. Best earbuds around. Love my Raycons. Wear them. Had them on all day yesterday. Played a bunch of golf night before as well. Out hitting some balls on my little private driving range. I call it that because we have a golf course behind my house that is no longer working, but they kind of maintain it. So nobody's ever out there. So I just go out and whack the ball everywhere. And I have my Raycons on. So listen to some podcasts, some of my audiobooks, and I love my Raycons. There is no stems, no wires. I never have to worry about pushing them back in. 6 hours of talk time, seamless Bluetooth pairing, better sound quality because of the fit. And the fit is the thing that is incredible. Try it yourself. They start well under $100. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. When you do, you're going to save an extra 15%. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help. I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's find out what's trending in the trending world of trending. Start first in Google. Devontae Wright, trending, 20-year-old African-American man shot by police and killed in Minneapolis, sparking, again, protests and unrest overnight. This, while we're in the middle of the trial of George Floyd's death with Officer Derek Chauvin on trial. So it's to say that it was it's uncomfortable and a powder keg in Minneapolis would be, she would say, a lie. Dogecoin trending up 20%. WrestleMania 37. Roman Reigns won. How about that? I remember this time last year, my little brothers were visiting me, so we watched it because they were really into it. So we got it, and they were like, "Oh, this is so awesome." I see why people like it, right? Like as a kid, I was kind of into it, not really, but I could see why people would, the storylines and all of that stuff, and yeah, it's essentially a soap opera for men. You got the pretty ladies, but they're super athletic and they kick butt, and then you got the dudes and there's villains, and it's like it's everything that you would think it would be. The Masters and the payout trending. We'll touch on that in a second as well. Head on over to Yes Kids Twitter, where everybody's fighting. Stallone is under fire, and because he's done something. Yeah, he moved into Mar-a-Lago apparently. Purchased I got to get rid of him. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Anthony Neuer, or Neuer, depending on where you are. They call him the Ginger Assassin. He is a PGA, that's Professional Bowlers Association, bowler. And yesterday, for the fourth time in history, he had a 7-10 split on live TV. That's pretty cool. I can make 7-10s. I can't pick them up. That's what you guys need to know. COVIDiots is trending, as it would be, because why not? Because anytime you have a chance to make fun of other people based on the fact that they don't have the same belief as you, then you go ahead and do it. And, of course, Minneapolis also trending on Twitter, as you knew it would be. And this is going to be a story, I think, to coincide with what's going on in Minneapolis already. It is it is not a good situation. I'm sure the exhaustion that police in certain cities across the country are feeling. Minneapolis, right? The abolishment of the police, and they're going to reimagine it. You've got Portland, which every night is a hot mess. They tried to burn down the ICE building, any federal building. It's just, but I know that those are just peaceful protesters, and Antifa's not real, and it's made up. But tell you what, for something made up, they're doing a lot of damage. I'm just, just pointing that out there. Just putting it out there, kids. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Text the program. Tweet at us. Love hearing from all of you. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life.
This is Chad Benson.
Hospital admissions jumping nearly 30% in the upper Midwest in just the past week. The CDC ranking Michigan the #1 hotspot in the country. And hospitals feeling the strain. Some patients facing 8 to 10-hour wait times. Those hospitalized shifting away from now vaccinated older Americans to those unvaccinated younger adults.
Yeah, there is a jump in certain places across said country. That's not something that I think we should be surprised about. Is it going to be another giant surge? I don't think so. It's very interesting because some places, even Fauci was having trouble trying to figure out what's going on in places like Texas, because they're like, okay, so they're not wearing masks and they're seeing, continually seeing a drop in what's going down. Why is that happening? Why? And one of the reason is because of the exposure. He's even talked about the fact now that, hey, look, herd immunity, it's not just about getting vaccinated.
This is a very elusive number, this herd immunity. It varies on the ability and the efficiency of transmission from person to person, and it varies with the efficacy of the vaccine. It's somewhere between 70 and 85% of the population where you have a combination of people who are vaccinated and people who've recovered. You don't need necessarily to get to this mystical number. The more and more people you get vaccinated, the closer and closer you get to control.
Yeah. And that's kind of what this is about. Remember, nature will mess you up. That's just the reality of what nature can do. Nature can do a lot of different things. And one of them is whatever the hell it wants to do, whenever the hell it wants to do it. Case in point, what's going on throughout the Caribbean, because now you've got a volcano that's erupting. Yeah. Why? Because it's nature. Nature decided, hey, let's mess with these people. I don't know why nature does it. Nature does what it does. This is part of nature. Now, we could argue whether or not, and some people do, whether there was some mischief that went on and that this thing escaped. But at the end of the day, now nature has taken hold of this thing, and this virus is doing what this virus does, which is trying to survive. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to survive. It's trying to go from place to place to place to place. And it's looking kind of like the movie. If you guys have ever seen Alien, what's it looking for? It's looking for a host. It's looking for a host. And right now, there's places that it's easy for them to jump into, and that host would be the younger.
Now we're seeing that kind of 40 to 59 age group as the largest group that's getting infected. We're certainly seeing some children that are getting ill, but it's really that young adult population that's driving a lot of the cases.
Yeah, I like the fact that the doctor there, Dr. Desmond, says 40 to 59 is the young adult. But yeah, some of that is. And we were always worried about the elderly. The way that we should have combated this was wearing the mask, continuing to social distance, but living our lives. And hindsight's 2020, and we need to look back on it. And the other side of this should have been we should have protected the elderly in a better way. In saying that, a lot of nursing homes still have plenty of people who work there, employees who aren't getting vaccinated. The staff aren't getting vaccinated. Surge with the young, understandable. Now the question is, what do we think is going to happen from here? I think we're going to see upticks in certain places. I think we're going to see places that are going to, who didn't have the exposure, struggle a bit. But eventually, I think it'll kind of peak and it'll start to come down the more and more people are getting vaccinated. And that's the big thing. The vaccinated. Because there are some places in the country are choosing to step away from the vaccine. A lot of places in the South are looking at a place where they've got now more supply than demand. Other places in the country, they need more supply. They've got too much demand. The South is not one of those. We'll see. This isn't over, but we're going in the right direction. And at this point, I don't think there's really, outside of a variant, and that's the worry that the South African variant is essentially itself immune to Pfizer, which is not true. It can get, I always try to put this in people's minds, because we hear doom and gloom all day on television, right? If you doom scroll, the world's coming to an end. Even if the Pfizer vaccine isn't 100% from keeping you from getting something, or minimalistically reducing the opportunities for you to catch it, because the real world in Israel, they did a real world data, and they looked at people who had the vaccine and who didn't. People who had the vaccine, just as many caught the South African variant as the people who didn't have a vaccine. In saying that, does it help you fight it? Because none of these things are 100%. The whole goal is to get to a point where you think, well, okay, if I get this because I've got a vaccine or because whatever it is, that it's not going to really do any damage to me and I'll be able to survive it and get through it. And for a lot of people, especially people who have compromised immune systems, the elderly who have a myriad of, diseases, ailments, all of those things, it's about making sure that they're safe so we can move forward. Because it's about the economy, stupid. You know that, and I know that. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, 60 Minutes last night, talking about the economy.
This will be a different economy. And one of the things we hear from companies is that they've spent a lot of time since the pandemic arrived looking at ways to have more effective technology and perhaps fewer people. So you're going to see some of that in these public-facing jobs. So there will be millions of people who have a hard time finding their way back into the workforce and recovering the lives that they had just a year ago. I think it would be appropriate for us to continue to support those people.
Okay, but what's that mean? Support it's very interesting. Because there's 4 million people in the workforce, or that were in the workforce, that are out of the workforce because of the coronavirus, who say, and this is an estimate, that they're too scared to go back to work. They're too worried to go back to work. Some of that's understandable. Is that all true? That I don't know. Some of them may be scared about the virus, not because they could potentially catch it, but because they're worried, hey, I'm going to start something up and I'm going to get shut down again, which is always a possibility.
The recovery, though, here remains uneven and incomplete. The burden is still falling on lower-income workers. The unemployment rate in the bottom quartile is still 20%. There's still 8.5 million people out of work. This unevenness that we're talking about is a very serious issue. Viruses are no respecters of borders, and until the world really is vaccinated, we're all going to be at risk of new mutations, and we won't be able to really resume activity with confidence.
Some of that's true, not everything. But some of it is true. But he's right about the low-skilled workers and the lower half or quarter of our workforce that's struggling, and they're the ones who've had to work so much through this. They can't afford to take any time off. There's so many things that go into that. Should we help those? Of course. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Look, everybody talks about a safety net. I got zero problems with a safety net. My issue with the government all too often is, let's not turn it into a hammock. Okay, let's not. And let's find programs that work, and let's keep those programs growing. And other programs that suck, let's get rid of them. Let's spend wisely. And where it's working, we can put more into it. Where it's not working, let's move money elsewhere, like you would do in a business. But people's fear of the coronavirus, if you're afraid to go back to work, at some point, though, don't you have to say, sorry, right? We can't do this forever. I get that you're scared. There's a lot of people I've got several business owners that listen to the show, but people I work with, I golf with, say, hey, I can't get people to work for me. I can't. I just can't find some of these people that want to work for me, not because just because some of them are like, man, why would I want to come right now? I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. The help with the unemployment and a little bit of this, and I'm doing, they're all doing some side hustles because everybody can nowadays. They're doing all right, and the thought of going back isn't appealing.
When people are out of work for a long period of time, the record shows empirically that their whole economic lives and, frankly, their broader lives as human beings can be damaged even permanently. So we want to avoid that, and I would say we have avoided a great deal of it. The really bad outcomes that we were concerned about a year ago have not materialized. Nonetheless, 9 or 10 million people out of work, and we need to keep supporting them and supporting the economy, and we will.
Yeah. But how long? Because you've already got 70-plus congressmen and senators and Senate ladies and gentlemen, Congress people, whatever it is, who are already saying, we need another stimulus. And I'm thinking to myself, I told you guys, if they can keep this going in perpetuity, if they can keep this going for as long as they possibly can, they're going to. If they can push this as long as they can, they're going to. If they can exploit this for as long as they can, they're going to. And the opportunity to spend more people's money to curry favor is real. Not for everybody, but for enough of them. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Yesterday, watched golf. A great day for the country of Japan. In fact, 2 great weeks at the same course for the country of Japan.
That hurts a little bit, but it's not going to hurt for long. Hideki Matsuyama walks around and taps it in. It's a bogey, and he's going to win Masters.
That's right. It was awesome to watch. Hideki Matsui, one of the great players in golf that's never won a major, and he's not bigger because I'll be frank with you. He's been here a long time, and it was almost 10 years today that he won as the low amateur at the Masters 10 years ago. And 2 weeks ago, Shako Higuchi was 17. She won the Augusta Women's Amateur. It was awesome to watch. It's just like one of those things where you're watching something. I was thinking to myself, this is a guy, and some of the players talked about the fact that the pressure that he has on him is so much different than the average. The only other person who could, in the golf world, could say that there's that kind of pressure would be Tiger Woods. This guy's, the pressure on him is about the nation, because the nation was watching. They woke up, watched the end of this thing. Prime Minister, everybody, the entire country. Can he win? Can he hold this thing and win this thing? Become the first Japanese male to win the Masters, and he did. And he struggled a bit. Nerves set in. But I tell you what, it's like, they talk about the fact that, most of these golfers, they go and I know a few of the PGA players and we've talked about like some of the pressure other players have like in Europe and stuff. This guy normally has anywhere between 30 and about 50 full-time people that follow him to report on everything he does. That's insane. Because of COVID, they didn't have that many over. And trust me, if there wasn't COVID, it would have been triple that. Following him everywhere. The nation basically was watching, and he didn't let it down.
It's thrilling to think that there are a lot of youngsters in Japan watching, hopefully in 5-10 years when they get a little older, and hopefully some of them will be competing on the world stage. But I still have a lot of years left, so they're going to have to compete against me still. So, but I'm happy for them because hopefully that they'll be able to follow in my footsteps.
Yep, he won $2.1 million yesterday. It's pretty good. Got himself a major. He'll be hosting the Dinner for Champions next week. That right there was Bob Turner, his interpreter for about 10 years, kind of his confidant and manager. And it was great to watch. But one of the reasons he's not bigger, and this is the reality of it, is you've been here 10 years. He does speak English, but he doesn't feel comfortable. He's very shy. And part of, growing is having that, big kind of, there's a lot of guys who aren't great. They're good, but they're not great, but they're massive. And he's just a very quiet guy. In fact, people didn't even know he was married until last year. And people say, how did you keep it a secret? He goes, well, nobody ever asked. It's okay. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Rough Greens, best thing I've ever done for my dog Doodle, even though now he drives me crazy because he's so happy and bouncy. If you want to keep your dog healthy and happy, this is what it's about. It is a supplement, Canine Vitasmart. You sprinkle it on your dog's food. It brings your dog's food to life. Gives them vitamins, minerals, all the stuff that your dog needs that doesn't get from the food you already give it. No matter how good the dog's food is, it's meant to live on a shelf. It's not meant really to be living food. Omega-3, 6, 9, you name it, it's got it. Right now, try it for free. You pay for shipping. Go to roughgreens.com/Chad, roughgreens.com/Chad. You pay for shipping. They're going to send you a bag for free. Canine Vitasmart from Rough Greens. Roughgreens.com/Chad. Call 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens. Make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Want to be, boys? Give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers. One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
My plan this morning was to wake up about 9:30, but needless to say, I arose much earlier than that and couldn't go back to sleep. So I came to the golf course early, had a really good warm-up. I felt really good going to the first tee until I stood on the first tee, and then it hit me that I'm in the last group of the Masters tournament, and I'm the leader by 4 strokes. And then I was really nervous.
Bob Turner, translator for the winner, Hideki Matsuyama. Guy's he's awesome. Got so much game. But it was interesting to watch. And what else is interesting is once he made the putt, so he won by 1. He beat a guy named Will Zalatoris, who's a rookie, who has a 28-inch waist. He looks like Flat Stanley, hits the ball a mile, and doesn't know, but nothing seems to rattle. In fact, he's not even a full-time member on the PGA Tour. He has temporary membership. And kid's unstoppable. He is. He's unstoppable. But afterwards, I was telling them, the caddy for Hideki goes over and he puts the pole in because he takes the flag off of it. And then he bowed. And it was just like, that was a cool moment. It's a very cool moment. By the way, he won $2 million yesterday. That's always a nice thing, too. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Oh, my Lord. I tell you what. So you got chaos in Minneapolis. Not because of Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, but because of a new shooting. Unrest overnight. And the city is already on edge. You've got some numbers when it comes to coronavirus surging in certain places. On top of that, you've got the usual day-to-day world of politics. What would it be without being a crazy Monday? Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Protests and looting in Brooklyn Center outside Minneapolis followed the shooting death of 20-year-old Dante Wright, who called his mother Katie to say he was being pulled over.
And I said, well, why did you get pulled over? He said they pulled him over because he had air fresheners hanging from the rearview mirror.
Police said Wright was found to have an outstanding warrant, but when they tried to take him into custody, he got back into his car.
One officer had fired a weapon, striking the driver. The vehicle continued and eventually crashed.
A woman in the car was injured. It's believed police body cameras were activated during the traffic stop.
Yep. And now what goes on from here? Now, this is Minneapolis, Hennepin County, same area as George Floyd, Derek Chauvin. What trial is going on right now? Derek Chauvin trial. He's being tried for second, third degree murder, or manslaughter. Talk about a powder keg. You've got this going on, and then this happens. Overnight, unrest, absolutely. You knew it was going to happen. What took place, we won't know. People will make the snap judgment. Cops are bad. This guy's bad. I'm not here to make a judgment because I don't know the whole story. I mean, it's so easy for me to come on and go, oh, let me tell you guys something. What's good? The black man tried to do something. No, that's stupid. I'm not going to come on here and go, what's good? Bunch of cops riding around in the Ku Klux Klan mobile. Not going to make that. He had a warrant. His mom said he was pulled over for air fresheners, which I don't know what that would, why? Maybe because people say, well, probably because he may have had weed in the car. He's trying to mask the smell of weed. They pulled him over. Supposedly he had a warrant for his arrest. Tried to get back in the car. He resisted. There was a shot. Goes from there. We won't know the story, but it doesn't mean that people won't sit here and speculate, because that's what's going on. It's the speculation of this. Why did he get pulled over? Was it because of the air fresheners? Was there something as far as the license plate or something like that that alerted them? I don't know. I don't know any of that. People will run with it, and you're going to get that. But once he got pulled over, then is when it escalated.
I heard the police officer come to the window and say, put the phone down and get out of the car. And Dante said, why? And he said, we'll explain to you when you get out of the car.
And he got out of the car because they explained to him he had a warrant for his arrest. He tried to get back in the car. That's when the shooting happened. But think about this. This is a city already on edge, a city that has a trial that is going on that the world is paying attention to. That the world is, with George Floyd and his death that happened, by the way, almost a year ago. It was remember, it was Memorial Day weekend. So it happened almost a year ago. They're already in a position where they are trying the case. Last week, the defense's big, I guess, Hail Mary was the original doctor who examined the body, Hennepin County Medical Examiner Dr. Baker. They asked him about his opinion on this because he gave a different opinion of why he died.
My opinion remains unchanged. It's what I put on the death certificate last June. That's cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual restraint, and neck compression. That was my top line then. It would stay my top line now.
Yep. So part of what they're saying is, look, because of the arrest, because of the neck and the knee and the ground and the police, this caused domino effect, which in turn caused him to have heart issues that caused him to die. In saying that, this is what he did put on the death certificate.
In terms of manner of death, you found then, and do you stand by today, that the manner of death for Mr. Floyd was, as you would call it, homicide?
Yes, I would still classify it as a homicide today.
There you go. And the defense's whole trial has been based around the fact that, no, you guys are trying him for Derek Chauvin put his knee on the neck and essentially constricting his airway to the point where he suffocated. This guy originally said, well, there was a part that played in it. Eventually, it was his heart that gave out. Because you're not trying to get, based on all the stuff that you see with the videos, what you're not going to get is not guilty. Your goal is to get manslaughter. 3rd degree murder, 2nd degree murder is what you're trying to avoid. So you got that coupled with the fact that this has been very contentious. The city, we saw what took place with the unrest last year. Now you have more unrest. And now with what took place with Dante Wright today or yesterday and overnight, this could be another powder keg in a city that's already, it's already on edge. It is already on edge. And we'll see how fast the footage gets released and how fast anything comes out of it. Because remember, last year happened on a Monday. It was really everywhere Tuesday. And by Friday, they had fired the officers and arrested them and charged them, which normally you don't see that at all. Will that happen again? I don't know, because we don't know any of what took place yesterday outside of what eyewitnesses are saying, and we haven't heard anything from the police. And if there's body cam footage, 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you guys. The good, the bad. Florida, doing all right. Texas, doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Arizona, doing all right. Doing all right when it comes to the coronavirus. Is there a risk, Dr. Fauci?
Well, certainly deaths are coming down. Hospitalizations are coming down. We're seeing hospitalizations a bit more skewed to younger people than it were several months ago. But the number that is disturbing is the number of cases each day. It's plateaued at a disturbingly high level. The last count yesterday was 63,000 cases in a single day. When you're at that level, there is the risk of getting a surge back up.
There's always a risk. One of the other risks that people are worried about right now, Dr. Fauci, thank you so much, is the fact that people are worried because they're reading that the Pfizer BioNTech doesn't work when it comes to the South African strain. That for whatever reason, it's not preventing it. And in a real world test, the same amount of people became infected with it, whether they had one or two shots of Pfizer BioNTech, compared to people who had no shots. Now, what happens from there, just because you become infected, because none of these things are 100%. So there's still a chance that you're going to potentially get it, but it's the afterwards. So let's say you did get it. What they're saying for a lot of, of Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson is, in the real world, nobody's dying. So you may get it. You'll either become asymptomatic or you'll have some symptoms, but they'll be minor compared to not having. Should we be worried? No, I don't think you can't live your life in fear. You can't live your life in this place where you're terrified that every new variant is the next variant that is going to shut us all down again. Because if that's true, we are never going to move forward, and we have to figure out how to get past this thing, live with this thing, through this thing, and around this thing. Part of doing that is accepting the fact that some people are going to get sick. Part of doing that is accepting the fact that we're going to have some uncomfortable situations here and there. If you looked over what took place in Israel after they started to open up again, they saw a spike. It then kind of got to a certain area where it just kind of meandered, and then boom, it started to fall off again. But there are going to be some states that didn't have the spread that will take longer to get to that point where you have that herd immunity.
This morning, health officials fear a fourth coronavirus wave is taking hold. On top of rising cases over the past 2 weeks, hospitalizations climbing 12%, with states like Michigan hit even harder.
Cases within our hospitals has doubled over the last 2 weeks.
Many hospitals there filling up, now reverting to mid-pandemic restrictions. State officials asking people to stop gathering indoors.
Then that's going to be tough, because Gretchen Whitmire has pretty much been extremely tough on trying to fight this thing, for better or worse. I mean, we could sit here and argue all day about whether or not the way that she handled it is, she really went hard at this. She saw the same spike that everybody else did, but by and large across the entire, most of last year up and through November, they were low comparatively to a place like Texas, right? So they've had 820,000 cases. 18,000 deaths, compared to a place like Texas. And Texas, Tejas, baby, has had a lot more than that, right? They've had a ton more than that. They've had almost 50,000 deaths, 2.83 million cases. But because you've had 2.83 million cases, you've also had 3 million people, essentially, who've been exposed to it and or survived it. And because of that, you have a situation where you've already got some herd immunity built up within the community. Now you couple that with people getting vaccinated, you'll start to see spread. It was never going to be one vaccine and then another vaccine, and another vaccine, and then all of a sudden all of America and the world gets vaccinated, and we'll get there. It was always going to be partially vaccinated, partially people who had already had it, to slow this thing down to get to herd immunity. So Michigan's having issues. Places that were much more shut down are having issues. Doesn't mean a fourth wave can't come, but I can't live in fear, and I don't think most of you want to either. Most of you are ready to get it going. And at some point, as we said, once you take that step, you have no choice but to continue, because putting the genie back in the bottle now is virtually impossible. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, your Instagram, check us out. You can tweet, Instagram at us. Love hearing my son starting kind of school today. He's going for like 3 hours, a couple days a week. I don't even know what that's all about. I can't wait to hear what it's like. Yeah, we were all like hazmat suits. Okay. Facing in different directions. Okay. Like those old diving suits where they pump air down. It's probably what they got. Oh, my goodness me. Car Shield. 24/7 roadside assistance. A rental car for free. While your car's in the shop, you choose the shop. They get them paid directly. It's that simple. It is. You call them up. They got 4 plans to choose from. Plans start as low as $99 a month. From the basic plan to bigger covers. What are you worried about? Electronics in your car? You're worried about the entire vehicle itself? Cars are staying on the road longer. They're built better, but it doesn't mean that check engine light won't come on. It's about covering yourself, covering your car, and covering your wallet. CarShield will give you a chance to do that. Over 1 million drivers have been helped by CarShield. They're America's #1 auto protection company. They're ready to help you. Call today. 800-665-2157. Use code Benson to save 10%. Be specific in what it is you're looking for with your car, or go to carshield.com, carshield.com. Use that code Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
I thought the prosecution did an excellent job questioning the medical examiner.
Mm-hmm.
Sure did.
Yep. Yeah, but the video footage alone should tell you everything you need to know about what happened.
100%. No doubt about it.
Okay, and hopefully justice will be served. That'd be nice.
God willing. Sounds like we all agree there's no way Derek Chauvin walks away from this. I'm gonna say
Saturday Night Live. Because you never know. You don't. You need one juror to say, hey, look, I may agree that the actions that he took killed, or at least were a portion of the problem that ended up killing George Floyd. But you guys said that he choked him out and because of the knee on there. And I find that wasn't the case. And you only need one, right? That's all you need is one person with reasonable doubt going, I'm not sure I believe with certainty that this took place. They joke, but there's a little bit of truth behind. Well,
okay, wait a second. You guys aren't buying into Chauvin's defense, are you?
Of course not. I mean, the defense trying to make a case that George Floyd's drug use was somehow responsible is just deplorable.
It was a clear act of desperation to create doubt where there is none.
Exactly, and there's no way the jury's going to fall for that.
I'm not saying that.
You only need one. That's all they're trying to do. They're not trying to get all 12 of them to say not guilty. They're trying to get one or two to go, I have reasonable doubt to think that this was all because of the knee on the neck. That's all you're trying to do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Do love hearing from all of you guys. You love, you hate. Snacks are a very important part of life. Pandemic snacking is up. We're going to touch on that in a minute. And I'm going to tell you why, because Lena Wen, who normally I don't really buy a lot of what she's selling, talked about the epidemic that's going on, that's being missed here in the country. And we've talked about it on numerous occasions, especially when it comes to COVID. Remember, COVID is two ways you die. Did you die with COVID or did you die from COVID? Because dying with COVID is different than dying from COVID. If you're super healthy and you've got nothing and you end up dying and COVID is the only thing that they can point to, that's one thing. Compared to somebody who has 2, 3, 4 comorbidities and COVID ends up being essentially the death knell in somebody's life. And we're going to talk about what's going on with that because it's something that, people just don't talk about. We don't anymore. Not in this day and age. I don't even know if you can, but we're going to because that's who we are. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as well. It's Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This should come as no surprise. The pandemic has made snackers out of all of us. And a new report from Coca-Cola has all the details on our snacking habits.
Gen Z and millennials snacking at 73%. Gen X also guilty of this as well at 54%. And then boomers, nearly half of boomers admit that they are snacking more during the pandemic.
Yeah. Boredom. You're at home. It's the same thing day in, day out. So you reach for a snack, right? There's some, over here, look at that. I got some chips. I'm going to have some chips. I got a candy bar. I'm going to have a candy bar. I got a little ice cream. I'm going to make I'm not really hungry, but at this point in time, it doesn't matter. And you're not exercising and you see where this goes. We've already got a somewhat unhealthy lifestyle. My hand raised because at times I snack when I shouldn't snack. Now, I work out and pretty good shape, never had a drink, never had a smoke, I'd never done a drug in my life, very much a teetotaler, as they would say. But yeah, we could all lose a little bit of weight. But this is definitely really exacerbated what is already a problem here. What do we like?
Now, Coca-Cola also looked at the most craved snack, pizza, as a snack in the West and in the Southwest. Pizza is the most craved snack. In the Northeast, we're looking at wings. In the Midwest, we're looking at potato chips. And in the Southeast, they say that French fries are the most craved snack. They're willing to travel over a 1 mile. So people are really looking to snack more and willing to go to extreme extents just to fulfill that craving.
Yeah. Because why not? We're hungry. We're bored. Going a mile or 2 or 3 to get something to eat also gets us out of what? The house. And when you've been going and doing the same thing, you're working out of the house, it's not hard to see why people would do it. Like all of us have been guilty at some time or another of eating while we were bored. Nothing else going on. And because of that, put on a few LBs. But Lena Wen wrote something, Washington Post, talking about the other pandemic or epidemic that's going on. It's obesity. 42% of Americans have obesity. Nearly 1 in 10 severe, up from 1 in 20 2 decades ago. But when you look at what's going on with the coronavirus, people who are obese are what? More likely to suffer severe illness. One study attributed 30% of coronavirus hospitalizations to obesity. World Obesity Federation found that risk of death from COVID-19 is 10 times higher in countries where people are overweight. But we can't talk about that anymore because of body positivity, because you're shaming somebody. We were joking earlier, right, that, Prince Philip, the Duke, who passed away, 99 years old. They were talking about all of his things that he had said in the past that really weren't anything, but people want to make something of it because it's good to, to damn somebody when they're, nowadays it's seemed to be very woke. One of the things he said, there was a young kid named Andy who wanted to be a astronaut. Told the prince that in 2001. And he said, you need to lose weight. You're too big. That's evil. Well, you can't. I mean, if you're too big. Right? If you, and I'm not talking about, I'm talking about real, issues. I mean, I think everybody could go, I could be fitter, I could be this, I could be that. We could, outside of, probably 2 or 3% of America, we could all do. But there's a difference between walking up the stairs, I sweat and I can't do it and I won't do it. And, because there are people out there that are just, it and I know it. And we could all let ourselves get to that point, especially in a time like this, but you can't talk about it. You can't. Washington University. William Dietz, a professor there who chaired the Lancet Commission on Obesity, cites a concerning study. 42% of people self-reported gaining weight since the pandemic began. The average addition, are you ready? 29 pounds. 10% said more than 50 pounds. Something that we can control. But eating is also something that we can control. And boredom and a time when you feel like you can't control anything because all you hear is about doom and gloom and it's tough. We have a coworker here who did the exact opposite. And the producer, Anthony's lost some weight. But we have a coworker here that I work with who went the exact opposite. He dropped over 100 pounds in the last 10 months, 11 months. To the point where dude, you need to eat a little something because it's starting to look weird. But most people haven't unless you've kept working. And if you're at home and snacking, you don't feel like you have control. Oh my God, it's easy to see why. Food's everywhere. DoorDash is easy, right? Grubhub. One of the few things you can do is to get out and go do something, get something to eat. So you choose to do it. It's all simple. It's understandable. That's for sure. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Just don't mention it. Because we can't be honest with ourselves. We just can't. It's a tough thing because to be honest with yourself, whether it's in the political world, in your love life, in your work world, in your dreams, or what, if you're honest with yourself, sometimes you'll have to face some serious questions, and people don't want to do that. So they'd rather just ignore it. And that's never helping. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Masters played this weekend in Georgia, Augusta National. It's always been there. It'll always be there, even though people tried to make sure that they could try to figure out a way to get it out of there, putting pressure on with the Major League Baseball stepping up and saying, hey, guess what, guys? Let's move the All-Star game out of Atlanta. We'll put it somewhere else. So because of the Georgia voting bill, and, people ask me all the time, what do you think about it? Do I think it's an overreach? I ask the question is it legal? Did what they did. So those people there, the legislators, the people that were voted in by the people of Georgia, did they do something illegal? Not asking you whether or not you think it's wrong or it's evil or it's bad. I'm asking you, did those people who did that, Brian Kemp signed it, was it illegal? Well, no. I mean, they're the legislators. Well, there's your answer. Do I like it? No. I want to expand voting. I want to make voting easier But I still want to make sure that there is voter ID. When you sign up, that there are checks and balances, that there are things that we need to do, that we can secure our election and make people feel comfortable that their vote does count. Who doesn't want that? But you can't have a normal conversation because it becomes, we need to cancel, we need to get rid of it, we need to blow everything out, and we need to make sure that you and everybody else don't do business, all the while ignoring many other things.
Things go better with Coca-Cola. What's your takeaway on this thing?
I think this boycott nonsense is just an attempt to get more votes. We're talking about people that knew exactly what they're doing when it comes to invoking emotion. But I think the Republican Party should have been prepared for it. I mean, when someone buys a domain several weeks before this big campaign, before the legislation is even done, they've already told you what their political playbook is.
Yeah. Lawrence Jones right there talking. And that's true. I mean, you know exactly what it was going to be. This is the battle. And right now, the battle's pretty simplistic. You say, these people over here are bad. They're evil, right? They're trying to suppress the vote. They're trying to destroy the vote. They're trying to keep everybody down. It's Jim Crow 2.0. And you just sit there and you're like, here we are not having a conversation because you don't want to have a real conversation. And the Republicans, is this part of a knee-jerk reaction? Yeah, there's some knee-jerk reaction. For sure. Do I think in some of these states they are going a little bit too far? I do. But in saying that, I didn't vote these people in. Their constituents did. And they'll have to answer at the ballot box if people think the same thing. That, hey, you guys went too far. We should be making it easier to vote. And there were things put in here that were never talked about because it was just easier to pick and choose and just give your team's score of how evil the other side is.
When you have Delta and Coca-Cola that helped negotiate the bill, they're only bowing because they don't want the woke mob going after them. Their lobbyists helped write this. So, again, this is cancel culture going wrong, but it's also a Democratic Party that wants to preserve power. It's not about black voters because, as you can see, they're willing to allow black businesses to suffer in Atlanta. Atlanta is the modern-day Black Wall Street. I don't understand how you're helping black folks by making sure that they don't get a financial incentives.
I don't know. Kind of lost it there. But in saying that, Republicans had a nice little jump in the last election when it came to minority voters. They did. They had a little bit of bump. People were perplexed. How could, Trump get any kind of vote from anybody of color? But he did get a little bit of a bump. The question is, can they sustain it? And the Republicans have always been bad about messaging when it comes to the African-American vote, as well as the votes for Latinos. And it's just, you sit there and you think your messaging, you may have a great message, but the messaging doesn't get out there. And this is seen because it's easy to control as a bad thing that, yes, it's evil and bad. Look what the Republicans are doing. They're not letting black people vote. They're not letting Hispanics vote. They're not letting, people of color vote anywhere. They're taking away certain things. No, that's not true. Are they make it in some places a little bit more difficult? Yeah, they may be. They may be. But also there are other places where you can look up and say, well, hold on a second, Delaware. You don't have some of the things that Atlanta and Georgia still have. And they've kept that in place, and you don't have it. So that's modern politics and modern journalism. Not getting the straight skinny on any of it because everybody's too busy playing a game. And the game is, can I get my team's message out there quicker and faster to appease people? And for the Democrats, they've got a good majority of the media. For the Republicans, they dominate in a lot of places online and a few places in the media. They have a strong foothold. But if you want the truth, you got to dig a little bit deeper. And we got to start asking questions of, well, I can't get an ID. Well, why can't you get an ID? Little things where you go, let's get a little deeper here and find out. Not saying it's perfect, Nothing ever will be. And know that. If you try to please everybody, you will please nobody. But it is funny that Coca-Cola, so true. All those CEOs are like, oh, God, now I got to take a stance on something that I don't want to take a stance on because I got other things going on. But that's what you have to do now. Wake up in the morning, check your Instagram, make sure that somebody didn't steal a Coca-Cola truck and do something that causes your company to look bad, and then everybody blames you for it. Or Delta, or any of these other companies. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the show. Check out the Instagram as well, and Facebook. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
President Biden once said in 1983 he thought court packing was
time back machine.
Oh yeah, he said he thought that court packing was a bonehead idea when FDR tried it. So why ask a panel now to go and see if it is a good idea?
Well, the panel is being asked to take a number of steps, including the pros and cons. They will also be looking at the court's role in the constitutional system, the length of service and turnover of justices on the court, the membership and size of the court, and the court's case selection rules and practices.
Translation. Right now, it's down 6-3 on the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. And so what was becoming something of, you saw the Republicans struggling. Even though they won a lot of the states, the legislators, the governors, they struggled in some areas, particularly on the national side. They still don't have the House, and right now it's a dead heat in the Senate, with the tiebreaker being Kamala Harris. Although I would argue the tiebreaker too more than that, which is Kamala Harris and Kyrsten Sinema out here in there. Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. But once it gets to that high court in the land right now, it's 6-3. And in a day and age when pretty much the biggest issues we have are settled by those 9 justices, 6-3 seems like a long battle. Just as we were talking about what Georgia did, what Texas is doing, and a few other states across the country are looking at, some of them rightly so, because remember, during the pandemic, a lot of things changed, and, you know, you're just like, well, it's supposed to be a one-off. Well, we're not quite sure. But this would be huge. I've always said Trump's lasting legacy, for all the chaos and craziness, the actual stuff that matters, bills, courts, this would be potentially it. The Supreme Court.
And the makeup of this commission, which was vital for the president, is there are progressives on the court, there are conservatives on the court. People will present different opinions and different points of view, and then they'll have a report at the end of 180 days.
We'll see if they do. And what would that look like? Because they walk a fine line. Here's something that I think in some of these states, Georgia could face some reckoning, where people would look at this and they'd get out to vote and maybe change a few things, and you could see a swing in that state. But you go and do something like this, where you decide, you know what, we're going to add 3 more justices, and we're killing the filibuster, we're adding 3 more justices, this is the way it's going to go, boom. What ends up happening? We as a nation don't like that. We feel like you're bullying the other side. So what happens from that point on? Change comes. Change comes fast. And I'm okay with looking, do they stay on the court too long? That is absolutely something we should talk about. Should it be a situation where you get a 10-year period of being on the court and that's it? I'm okay to talk about that. Adding to the court, I think, would be a tough sell to the American people. It would be. The progressives may like it, but what it would look like is you didn't win and they did. Now you've won, and you're changing some of those rules, just like what's going on in some of the states. And I think it comes back and it potentially bites you in the butt, especially in midterms. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. You can check out the Instagram We do Instagram-y things there. Probably do a live, throw some stuff up a little bit later. Same thing on Facebook as well. And check out all the stuff we've got. You got any questions? Feel free to shoot them at me. At Chad Benson Show. Direct message me and text the program as well. Have a blessed, wonderful day. We got you through the day. Mondays can be a bit of a... But you know what? We try to make it smooth for you. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.